Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar. And I really want to especially thank our accredited businesses for being here today. As things start to open up, it's really important that we provide great content for you, which is why we wanted to present this webinar for you today. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, please feel free to type them in the questions box. You'll have an opportunity to get those questions answered at the end of the webinar. Today, we have one of our fellow accredited business with us today. We have Daniel Pyne. He is the Sales and Marketing Coordinator for ServiceMasters by Disaster Recon, and I will hand it over to him today to talk to you about preparing to return to the workplace. So thank you so much, and again, please write any other questions you might have. So I'll pass it to you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Well, like Pam said, my name is Dan Pyne. I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator with ServiceMaster by Disaster Recon. And again, I just want to extend my thanks to you for joining us this afternoon. One of the big topics that we're seeing right now, obviously, is the return to the workplace as it relates to COVID-19. This has really impacted many of us, I think all of us, in some form or fashion. And as somebody who's been working from home for the past 3 months, this is a very important topic to talk about. So the COVID-19 pandemic will affect how we think and behave in the near future and in the long term. Public opinion about business and life in general will be shaped by a much greater awareness of potential infection and social distancing. Every business, school, church, and facility space must now be concerned with preventing infection exposure, not just by regular cleaning, but also by our general outlook on many different aspects of our lives, because those aspects have shifted to be more mindful about our interactions. Like I said, COVID-19 has impacted all of our lives. We've all had to make changes to the way we live, work, socialize, and even entertain ourselves. We've learned a lot about our employees, about how our businesses operate, and how our employees and businesses can operate and adapt when faced with a crisis. The goal of this webinar is to provide you a basic understanding of how to prepare your business, employees, and yourself to return to the workplace, understand the lessons that we've learned from this pandemic, and look at the possible future of the workplace. Before we get started, a little bit about myself and about ServiceMaster by Disaster Recon. Like I said before, I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator for ServiceMaster by Disaster Recon. I've been with ServiceMaster for about 6 years now, and I work with small businesses and large businesses with business continuity and planning. ServiceMaster by Disaster Recon is Northeast Ohio's largest restoration company. We have offices both in Eastlake and in Akron, covering pretty much all of Northeast Ohio. We specialize in business continuity and recovery after disasters or unplanned events. And right now, we've been spending a lot of time assisting our commercial clients in preparing their businesses for normal operation by helping them ensure that they have a plan if and when a positive case of COVID-19 impacts their facility. So before we kind of jump into a lot of this information, there's some key terminology to understand. There's been a lot of different information out there on COVID-19, and it seems to change by the minute. So here are a few terms to understand as we talk about how to prepare to move back into the workplace. So what is COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 or coronavirus? Well, an outbreak of a respiratory illness was reported in Wuhan, China in late 2019. The World Health Organization named the illness COVID-19. The CO stands for corona, the VI stands for virus, and the D stands for disease. 19 refers to 2019 when the virus was first reported. COVID-19 is the virus that is caused by, or the disease caused by the virus SARS-CoV-2. So the actual pathogen that we refer to when we talk about COVID-19 is actually SARS-CoV-2. These terms seem to be used interchangeably in the media, but what we're really worried about is COVID-19, which is the disease that affects us, which is caused by the virus. So how does COVID-19 spread? The virus is thought to spread mainly from person to person, between those in close contact within 6 feet apart, through respiratory droplets that are produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. It may be possible for a person to get the virus by touching a surface or object, and then touching their own nose, mouth, possibly eyes, after an infected person coughs or sneezes on the surface. Some other key terms to understand: cleaning. So cleaning is the removal of dirt, germs, and impurities from a surface or object. Cleaning works by using soap or detergent and water to physically remove germs or dirt from the surface. Sanitizing is a 99.9% reduction in pathogens. Sanitizing lowers the number of germs on a surface or object to a safe level, and that's judged by public health standards. Disinfection is not the same thing as sanitizing. Disinfection is actually the 99.9999% reduction in pathogens. Disinfecting kills germs on surfaces or objects. Disinfecting works by using chemicals to kill germs, but this process does not necessarily clean dirty surfaces or remove germs, but it kills germs on a surface, and therefore it can further lower the risk of spreading infection. So understanding these terms is very important, because when you're looking for a product, service, or companies to help aid in your recovery efforts, it's important to understand these terms, because a lot of companies are using these terms interchangeably, or using them to possibly credit themselves about providing a service that they may not be qualified to provide. So with some of the terminology out of the way, let's talk about preparing to return to work and what you might need to do before you or your employees get there. As the state begins to relax stay-at-home orders and businesses reopen, we need to have plans in place to further reduce the spread and threat of the current virus. Your employees, coworkers, and customers will have several new considerations when returning to work and business as usual. Having a proactive plan can help provide reassurance that their environment is as clean, safe, and healthy as possible, as well as help you minimize the potential of illness-related closures and downtime. We've seen a lot of general guidance from the CDC, EPA, and the governor, but what practical changes and policies can you make in your business to minimize the risk for your business and employees? One of the things that you can do is really create a plan for the start of your day. Some of the things that we've worked with businesses and we've seen them start to do is stagger start times for your employees, create multiple shifts for your employees, create an area where temperature screening can be taken before they enter the general work area. Also create additional entry points so all staff isn't using one door. That's a very critical piece to understand, because if somebody who is infected with COVID-19 comes in the same door as everyone else, the potential for everyone else to be infected is much, much greater than if you have multiple people using multiple entry points to your business. Create new temporary policies. Consider staggering break times to limit the number of employees using common areas at the same time. Consider limiting the use of common equipment or devices such as printers, copiers, and consider creating flexible sick leave policies or non-punitive emergency sick leave policies. We all know that as parents, right now, sometimes makeshift teachers, we have other things to accommodate than just ourselves when it comes to these closures and downtime. So being flexible with your employees helps them be able to continue to work, continue to take care of their families, and ultimately keep your business open and running. Consider staggering work hours to reduce employee density. Like I said, if you create a second shift or are able to change shifts around, that helps limit the amount of people in your business at one time, which helps reduce the risk of infection. Consider having some employees continue working from home if possible. Post policies, any new policies that you put into place, and hand washing instructions in highly trafficked areas around your business so that people are reminded of these constantly. Even minor changes in policies and procedures can drastically reduce the risk of spreading the virus. You can download signs like this from the CDC or get in touch with me. I'd be happy to provide you with one. Signs like this help remind your employees that the threat is still very real, and we all need to do our part to help protect one another. Changes to your workplace layouts may be necessary to adequately distance employees. Identify if your workspace needs to be reconfigured in any way and take appropriate measures to do so. Remove or block access to furniture or areas as necessary to enhance social distancing. Reconfigure open workspaces or limit them. For example, decide if every other cubicle may be occupied. So employees are physically distant and not just facing one another. Provide partitions as appropriate. Reconfiguring meeting and common spaces may be necessary in order to keep employees adequately distanced. Determine how many people can safely occupy a meeting room with appropriate physical distancing. Ideas include removing seats to facilitate physical distancing, place appropriate signage in a visible location to remind people to be physically distant, encourage remote meeting with virtual tools where employees remain in their workspace, but attend a virtual meeting, and limit the size and location of any in-person meeting. If conference rooms are used in the office, clean in between uses, making sure that all surfaces that have been touched are disinfected. Require meetings to be quick, efficient, and discourage socializing before and after. Creating a healthy work environment will not only help protect you and your employees, but help your employees feel better about the transition back into the workplace. Here are some things that you can do to help facilitate a healthy work environment. Increasing ventilation rates will help keep air from being stagnant and letting potential pathogens settle on surfaces. Increasing the amounts of outdoor air coming into your HVAC system helps ensure that you're not just recirculating the same air all day. One of the ways that you can be sure your facility is free of pathogens is by having it professionally disinfected prior to reopening, or by having disinfection service performed on a regular basis. This helps protect your employees and also helps your employees feel more at ease about coming back to work. Changes to your daily cleaning routines are also a must. While normal custodial services focus on cleanliness and aesthetics, adding a disinfection regimen to this is the easiest and most efficient way you can have an impact. Disinfecting high touch points on a regular basis is critical for helping reduce the spread of any known pathogen, especially COVID-19. Consider designating one maintenance or custodial staff to disinfecting high touch points on a repetitive basis. Have them use a checklist like this one to ensure all high touch surfaces are being disinfected regularly. The EPA has a live updated list on their website for products with known kill claims for coronavirus. That's list N, and it is listed on the EPA's website. Make sure the disinfectant that you use is on this list. What should you do if one of your staff members tests positive for COVID-19? The CDC has published guidelines for what to do if your business has been affected by a confirmed case. The first thing you should do is limit exposure and risk to others by closing off work areas where the infected employee has been. Be sure to include areas outside their workstation, like break rooms, restrooms, time clock areas, or entrances. The CDC also recommends closing the facility for 24 hours if possible, but this isn't required. You may want to assess what other employees may have come in contact with the infected person and have them self-quarantine or work from home if possible for a certain amount of time. One major consideration would be having your facility professionally disinfected after an employee tests positive. One thing when you're looking at finding a vendor to partner with for professional disinfection, there are a lot of companies that are claiming that they provide disinfection services, and not all disinfection services are the same. Many janitorial companies are providing adequate service for high touch point disinfecting and ongoing service, but really don't have the resources to provide a full disinfection of your facility after a confirmed case. One thing that we've seen through our work in business continuity is having a partner in place before you need them is the biggest way to help minimize your downtime and minimize the impact that a disaster or unplanned event can have on your business. Finding a good vendor is relatively easy if you do your research. A good vendor will ask questions about your facility, get to know you, your business, and understand your specific needs, and be available 24/7 to ensure that business continuity is upheld. If you're a manufacturing facility that runs 2 or 3 shifts and you have to shut down 2 shifts because your vendor can't get there with enough people in 8 hours to finish before your next shift goes live, that's downtime that's costing you money. Being able to have a vendor that can come in at a moment's notice is crucial to keeping your business open and operational. Keep open communication with your vendor. I can't stress that enough. Again, knowing that, hey, my facility just had a possible confirmed case. We're waiting on test results, but just to give you a heads up, we may need you tonight. That gives your vendor notice to start putting manpower together, to start pulling resources, and to get ready for that dispatch. It also helps them understand what areas may need to be disinfected, and they can work with you on contract tracing to understand those areas and what areas have been affected. Why is professional disinfection so important? Well, what would happen if 30% of your staff tested positive for COVID-19? Would you be able to continue your normal operations? Again, we talk about business continuity and we talk about the safety and health of our employees, but at the root of the issue, it's business continuity, and are we able to continue providing the service to our customers and clients that we normally would? Many of our businesses have already taken a hit from this pandemic, and business continuity, now that we're getting back to some type of normal production or staffing, is critical. So being able to protect your employees and protect your continuity is the biggest key here. So if you're an employee coming back into the workplace, you should immediately take inventory on whether the space has been cleaned recently. A clean space should be free of visible dirt and trash. Fingerprints on doors and windows or stains on countertops and tables may indicate that there's been a relaxed attitude towards cleaning. High touch points should be disinfected regularly. We know that in order for surfaces to be disinfected effectively, any dirt or fingerprints have to be cleaned. Seeing clean will give you a good indication that health and safety practices are a top priority in your company. What adjustments have your coworkers made? Are they wearing masks or taking other precautions while at work? Just like we talked about, many businesses and facilities have made physical changes to their building to help reduce the spread of illness. Your business may adjust the traffic flow of patrons to prevent congested areas. We're seeing a lot of contactless points of sale being introduced and becoming more common. And businesses may start constructing barriers between employees and guests. We're seeing that a lot in grocery stores and food restaurants right now. A good way to help prevent the spread of infection is to reduce the number of touch points, such as propping doors open and opening windows to increase airflow. Some businesses are going a step further and actually reducing the number of guests allowed inside at one time. So from all of this that we've seen, we've made a lot of changes in our workplace. And Pam and I were talking right before we logged onto the webinar that we're seeing some trends start to emerge that may not go away from this. So what are some of those trends that we've seen or expect to emerge from the current pandemic? The current health crisis has changed many aspects of our lives that we take for granted. Eating at restaurants, going to the movies or the gym, even our shopping experiences have all been affected by COVID-19. But what long-term changes will we see as a result of this? One of the major topics the pandemic has highlighted is remote working. It's shown us that our employees can work from home and still be productive. We're seeing that companies are already talking about downsizing their facility footprint to accommodate 50 to 75% of their workforce instead of 100%. We're also seeing companies institute new work from home policies that allow employees to work remotely for 2 to 3 days a week and share an office or workspace with another employee on the days that they're not in the office. We've also seen that work-life balance is becoming increasingly important and that there may be less of an emphasis on providing amenities in the workplace, such as fitness centers, cafeterias or coffee shops, and recreation rooms in the workplace, since employees will be working remotely more. COVID-19 has also highlighted key health risks in open office concepts, and these areas are already being redesigned to facilitate more distancing and create barriers between employees. So what are some of the key lessons that we've learned from this pandemic? Well, one of the biggest lessons we've learned from helping our clients with business continuity plans is that having a plan is the number one thing you can do to have an impact on efficiency and disruption. That's no different when it comes to reintroducing workers or customers back into your facility. Whether you realize it or not, just by having this discussion and some of the discussions you had at the onset of this pandemic, you've already started working on your business continuity plan by finding ways to continue business and transitioning employees in times of crisis. Thank you again to the accredited businesses that have attended here today. It's been a pleasure to share this information with you. And if you have any other questions that weren't addressed here today, please feel free to reach out to either Pam or myself. I'll also have facility reopening guides available for anyone interested in learning more about the information provided in today's webinar. Just send me an email and I'd be more than happy to provide it to you. So thank you again so much.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day.